Right, in this tutorial I'll be covering a lot of stuff. First, I'm just going to start off with methods. Methods can apply to any data type, so nothing, void, boolean, true or false, integer, float, byte, short, double, goes on and on and on. Right, so we can say boolean, name, and there's our method. If we try and compile this, missing a return statement. Right, so we need to say return, and we're going to say return true, because it's a boolean value, and it compiles fine. So now we also can use false. Let's try out an integer. So we say int, and this, try this out as it is now, just so you can see an error. Incompatible types. So it's not a boolean we want here, it's an integer, so you can type in 5. But you should use a byte here because the value is so small, unless you can use a very large number. Right, so that's pretty much how methods work. That's all it is. Nothing else really to it. Right, so let's talk about if statements. Right, if statements are very, very simple. You've seen them in the previous tutorials. Haven't gone in depth with them because I wanted to try and stay away from them until I could explain it to you, and I felt that you were ready if you were starting as a beginner, that is. Right, so what we've got here is just a blank if. That won't compile, so we need to have a condition. So if something's true or false. It doesn't work like a boolean, so I can't say if. No, actually I can, sorry, but it isn't a boolean that's going to be going into it. It will be a condition that goes into it, and our condition could be boolean 1. Just to avoid the mess up there, so we can say boolean 1, boolean 1 equals false. So if boolean 1 equals true, that's what that's saying there. We can use the operators equals equals, so that means equal sign means if it's equal to it, so we say equals true. So if boolean 1 equals true, then system.out.print line new, and we can get it to print out true. Compile, because the code's been changed, and it's not true, it's actually false, so we won't see that condition. And the else will show us anything else, so if it doesn't apply to the first part here, so if boolean isn't true, then it will go down to the else. So we can say if it's not true, then show us this. False. And our output would be false. If we were to change this to true, it will apply to this first block of code rather than the second, and we'll see true. Right, if we were going to use an integer, which can hold more than true or false if we're using numbers, so we can say, give it an appropriate name. Right, so we can say if my_int equals 0, we print out 0. Else if my_int doesn't equal 0, then print out 1. Compile that, and we'll get 0. But what about if I wanted to have 0 to 5? That's when we need to use an else if. So we say else if my_int equals 1, then show us that value. And we can just go ahead and copy this, duplicate it. Right, so 0, 1, 2, 3. So see 2 and 3 here, and we can change the value to 2. And compile that, and there you go. And if you're working with a long list, like say if you wanted to show an icon or a different colour for each, like a different shade of colour for players' health and stuff like that in a game, you wouldn't really want a load of else ifs, if else's and stuff. So that's where switch statements come in. Switch statements are a little bit of a pain because they only apply to a few data types: byte, short, integer. Don't think it applies to a long, and character, and just character. It won't apply to boolean, and it does not apply to a string, which is a right pain. It's the worst thing ever. Right, so we can say switch, and we apply this in as our case, and then we say case 1. Oh no, wait, we started out with 0, didn't we? And then we say break out the code, if this condition is true, system.out.print line new brackets, and we say 0. And that's pretty much how that works. But it won't be equal to 0, so how would we catch that as an else statement? We use the case default, and we define it the same way. You just say default, anything else that doesn't apply to this, then show us the default. Quickly compile it for you, default. Right, compile, or build, run, default, because the value was not 1, so we can change this to 0, sorry, compile, and run, and there we go, we have 0. Right, so that's pretty much how a switch statement works. Right, if we wanted to use it for a character, say character A, so my char, create appropriate name, equals A, and now we need to say if it equals A, note the case is very important. So if it equals A, then show us A, anything else, show us default. So we should see an outprint of the word A, or the character A. And there it is. Right, let's change this to uppercase. What do you think is going to happen? Nothing. Well, default, because it doesn't apply, because it's case sensitive. What we could do is use the operator to lowercase, I think we got a case sensitivity wrong there. Right, sorry, my mistake. You can't apply that the to lowercase like that. Right, so that's pretty much how you use a char, not char, a switch statement with a character. What else do I want to cover? Arrays. Sorry to switch about here. Array is a way of applying more than one value to one data type, to a single data type, which we can name players. So we have an integer value of players, and then we can say, which these symbols here defines this as an array. We can say equal